happened back there?
I don't care.
Hey, I've got an idea. Let's rock talk.
Well, Wizards of the Coast finally did it. They actually addressed fire design in Magic. So what happened? You saw. They went absolutely nuclear on like every format. So let's go and just take a really quick look through this ban list and see what exactly this is all about. So first of all, historic. Uro, get fucked, get out of here. Omnath, yeah, they decided that needs to not come back. So maybe they could have done a little bit more with like the sacrifice decks, but I think, yeah, banning Uro was definitely important. Like, Uro was ridiculous in that format by, I don't think anyone argues that point. So we'll see how historic shapes up, but if sacrifice is a problem, then they can deal with that in the future. But overall, I think that's fine. But here is where we start to get like really deep into this shit. Pioneer. Balustrade Spy is banned, Undercity Informer is banned. So if you're playing Oops All Spells, I'm sorry, but Pioneer is not a fucking combo format, and they are holding true to this, so no more Oops All Spells. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath is banned in this format as well. It's been a big part of the Wilderness Reclamation decks and the Niv Delight decks. Wilderness Reclamation, yeah, that's another competing deck. Just ramp up, really powerful. And they banned Teferi fucking Time Raveler. Rest in piss, Teferi. Nobody will miss you. Get the hell out of Magic. So this, I believe, is the third format Teferi has been banned in. Because he was banned in Standard, Historic, and now Pioneer. So maybe the dream of him getting banned in every format is, it might be a reality after all. We've just taken another step closer towards that. For me, this means it's great for news for Mono Blue Devotion, because Teferi was like the most dangerous card to my whole deck. So I'm particularly happy about this, because now Leyline of Anticipation actually does something. But I think overall, like, Teferi was like a problem just because it was enabling like some of the most stupid decks with like Niv Delight and the Esper control decks, and with the Urion and everything, gave them just like a ridiculous like recursive engine with it. Teferi just had to go. Sorry. The card is just uninteractive and unfun. Pioneer needs to be fun. So I'm happy that they took this out, and they took out Reclamation partially because they took out Teferi, so that makes sense. So far we got, two formats, two big hits. So Modern, another just uppercut to the format. Field of the Dead is banned, Mystic Sanctuary is banned. The powerful lands in Modern needed to fucking go. Because here's the thing, these lands are just absurd. Field of the Dead giving like every deck that can run it ridiculous inevitability and a ridiculously hard to interact with permanent type. Same thing with Mystic Sanctuary. You just cryptic lock with the Mystic Sanctuary and then the game is over and it just drags out forever. But we're no more of that shit. That is gone. And then Uro, of course, is banned in Modern because Uro can just eat shit. It's like one of the most overpowered mythics they've ever printed. But also, Simian Spirit Guide being banned alongside Tybalt's Trickery. This was a result of people trying to cascade into nonsense starting from turn 0 all the way through. And I've seen multiple people manage to like turn 0 shit like Ulamog and Emrakul and whatnot specifically because of like Simian Spirit Guide and Tybalt's Trickery. So yeah, those needed, like, Spirit Guide was definitely on the list. It was going to get banned eventually, but I didn't think it would be this soon. I'm kind of surprised by that. But no, it was inevitably going to happen for a lot of the same reasons as stuff like Mox Opal and some of the rituals that are on there, like Rite of Flame. Simian Spirit Guide is fast mana, and you know what? Modern is not supposed to be a fast mana format. So the Simian Spirit Guide is going to hit Neoform. It's going to hit ad nauseum, unfortunately. So I know they're using the card fairly, but yeah, we can't worry about that because we have to ban it for the decks that are abusing it. And like, it's also, being abused by like all these nonsense Cascade decks. So it's just going to continue to be a problem. So they had to address it, and it's probably the most controversial ban out of this entire list. But I think that it was inevitably going to happen, so I'm not sad to see it go. And then Legacy, they finally addressed Legacy. So what did they do in Legacy? Arkham's Astrolabe is banned, Dreadhorde Arcanist is banned, Oko Thief of Crowns is banned. So Legacy for the last year has basically just been Oko's world, where it's like Temur Delver and Snowco, and you're just snow piles with Oko in it. And if you're not playing one of those two decks, you were just wrong. All right, Oko is ridiculous. It answers Chalice of the Void and all of the creatures like Thalia and whatnot that actually help to keep a lot of these decks in check. With that, you have a flip Delver of Secrets. Well, I'm just gonna elk it. So all that work you did to get this nice flying beater, well, it's a fucking elk now, just like everything else. Oko was just, yeah, the game fucking revolved around it. And the best decks in the format are the ones that could play Oko and Pyroblast in them, because Pyroblast is the best answer against Oko, and it's the best answer to protect it and get it to resolve. So, yeah, Oko just had to actually be banned. Oko needed to go Ko. And Astrolabe, for a lot of the same reasons, it was just completely busted when you're playing it in all these shells. It lets you play ridiculous 4 or 5 color mana bases that don't get punished by Blood Moon or Back to Basics, and that's just not acceptable. So Astrolabe has to go. And there is supposed to be a real legitimate cost to playing more than one color in Magic, and Astrolabe was just making a complete fucking mockery of that in this format. So it had to go. And finally, Dreadhorde Arcanist is banned. Now, this is one where I've seen a few people talk about this where it wasn't necessarily as asked for as either of the other two, but I think this is a really good ban because Dreadhorde Arcanist is one of the most powerful cards that's ever been played in Temur Delver. It's the amount of advantage that this thing just gets every single turn, it's ridiculous, and it's like Delver of Secrets. Once they play it, they just protect it and it'll win the game. So they play Ponder and then attack and Ponder again, or Bolt you, attack with Arcanist, Bolt you again, and they just every turn. And this is a format where all the best spells that you want to cast with it from your graveyard are already 1 mana, and so of course you want to play a creature that's just gonna freely cast them every turn. It's a Snapcaster every single turn of the game, after you cast it. It's ridiculous. And yeah, it made Temur Delver way too powerful, so I think it was a good hit to make it go. We can try to bring the power level of Delver back into, a sane level. Other Vintage, they are unbanning Lurrus, just because when they banned Lurrus originally in Vintage, it's because the companion role made it 0 mana to put it in your hand from the sideboard, so restricting it did nothing. But since it now costs 3 mana to put it from your sideboard into your hand, it's not free with Lotus anymore. You actually have to pay 3 mana and then another 3 mana to cast it. So if you can pay 6 mana, then yeah, you can have a Lurrus in Vintage. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal now. We could be wrong. Maybe it's actually still really good, but I have a feeling that now that there's an extra 3 mana tax associated with it, it's an okay card. And finally, they did make a rules change, but I don't think it's one that anyone else expected. They only changed the rules for Cascade, so the dual face cards still have these wonky interactions, but Cascade specifically, at least now, you cannot Cascade into Tibalt anymore, because Cascade will check the converted mana cost when it hits the card and also when it casts it now. So if you Cascade into Valky, it will check Valky's converted mana cost then, and then if you try to cast Tibalt, it won't work because Tibalt's converted mana cost will now be checked and it'll be 7. It's it doesn't work. So yeah, you can't Cascade into Tibalt. You can, however, still do stuff like Release to the Winds or Bring to Light to cast Tibalt that way. So they haven't really fixed the dual phase cards, and there's still a possibility they'll break again in the future, but we'll have to see that when we get to that point. Overall, I am super impressed with this list of bans. And they go through a little bit of their reasoning for each of these things. And I think it's totally fine. I think that it could have been an opportunity here for them to redefine some of the mission statements for these formats. like Aaron Forsythe promised us a year ago that Modern was going to have a new mission statement because originally Modern was said to have it was supposed to be a turn 4 format. Well, Modern is not a turn 4 format anymore. And now this is going to slow it down a little bit because now we're not going to have Spirit Guide to, to try to ramp out some of those things like Neo Brand where it's not going to win in like turn 1 or turn 2 as much. There's still going to be tons of like turn 3 decks. Oops All Spells is still a very easy turn 3 deck. I mean, you can interact with it, but like, stuff like Infect is still really fast. It's just a matter of, whether they can consistently get there through interaction or not. Like Prowess can kill you in turn 3 pretty easily. It's so calling Modern a turn 4 format may not make sense in the current age. I think that they still need to they need to give us like their mission statement for each of these formats, and so we have some kind of idea of what the rules are supposed to be as far as what do they want to ban and what do they not want banned. So give us the criteria. That's what we really should have, Wizards, and I'm surprised they didn't do that here. They only really talked about the cards specifically in here, not really not really the overarching this is how we're defining each of these formats. Like maybe Modern's a turn 3 format, and Pioneer's supposed to be a turn 4 format or something like that. We didn't get that, and I think that's something that we still desperately need. So it's my only critique of this. Overall, I'm really, really pleased with this. So I'm actually looking forward to making some more content. So we will have some more Magic stuff starting next week, I promise. Yeah, this is... I mean, I took a little vacation from this because like Magic was miserable across every format, and I know a lot of creators are feeling the same way. And you know what? I don't blame anyone because everything just turned into stupid Cascade soup decks, and everything was just totally just awful. But now, yeah, this is a really, really good attempt to try to clean up all this shit. So hopefully it will be a meaningful change to each one of these formats. So we'll have some interesting things to look at and explore. Who knows how they're going to shape up after this? I don't know, but I'm excited because this means that we can actually start looking at each of these formats again and develop decks that are going to be fun to play. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to getting back into that. Yeah, that's all I got for this. So I think, yeah, I'm super happy. I hope that we get more stuff more communication, I guess, would be nice in the future. It'd be nice to not find out from, a secret lair announcement that they're actually looking and paying attention to these formats. But hey, you know what? I'll take what we can get. So it's way better than nothing for a year. So everybody take it easy, and then I will see you next week.
Yeah, that was good rock talk.